The morning sun was just breaking over the mountains surrounding Coronado, California, when Staff Sergeant Emma Chen arrived at the Naval Special Warfare Center. She pulled her truck into the parking lot, took a deep breath, and looked at the orders that had changed her life 2 weeks ago. The Marine Corps, in its infinite wisdom, had decided to send her, a female marksmanship instructor, to teach advanced shooting techniques to Navy SEALs. It was October 2015, and the military was still adjusting to women being allowed in combat roles. Emma was 28 years old, compact at 5'4", with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that reflected both determination and a hint of nervousness. She had grown up in rural Oregon, the daughter of a hunting guide who taught her to shoot before she could ride a bike. By age 12, she was out shooting clients twice her age. By 16, she was winning national competitions. When she enlisted in the Marines at 18, she had expected to be a rifleman. Instead, they made her a marksmanship instructor at Quantico, teaching basic rifle skills to new recruits. She was exceptional at it, patient, methodical, and able to diagnose and correct shooting problems that other instructors missed. But she had never deployed, never seen combat, and most importantly, she had never worked with Special Operations Forces until now. Emma walked into the building and found her way to the office of Master Chief Dan Cooper, the senior enlisted SEAL who ran the advanced training programs. He was a mountain of a man, 6'3", with shoulders that seemed to fill doorways, and a face weathered by 20 years of combat deployments. "Sergeant Chen," he said, not bothering to stand or shake her hand. "I'm going to be direct with you. I didn't ask for a Marine instructor, and I definitely didn't ask for a female instructor. But someone at SOCOM thinks we need to modernize our training approach, so here you are." Emma stood at parade rest. "Master Chief, I understand your concerns. I'm here to teach precision rifle skills, not to make political statements." "Our guys already know how to shoot," Cooper said. "They're SEALs. They've shot more rounds in combat than you've probably shot in your entire career." "I'm sure they have, Master Chief. But precision shooting under controlled conditions and precision shooting under stress are different skills. I'm here to teach the latter." Cooper leaned back in his chair, studying her. "You ever been shot at, Sergeant?" "No, Master Chief." "You ever had to make a shot knowing that if you miss, American lives are lost?" "No, Master Chief." "Then what makes you think you can teach my men anything?" Emma met his eyes. "Because shooting isn't just about experience, Master Chief. It's about understanding ballistics, reading wind, calculating angles, and maintaining perfect technique under pressure. I may not have combat experience, but I have something else. I've made over 50,000 precise shots under every condition imaginable. I understand the mechanics of marksmanship better than anyone you've ever met." Cooper snorted. 50,000 shots on a range doesn't compare to one shot in combat." "You're right," Emma agreed. "But your SEALs already have combat experience. What I'm offering is to refine their shooting technique so that when they make those combat shots, their odds of success go up. Isn't that worth 3 days of training?" Cooper was quiet for a moment. Finally, he said, "Fine. You have 3 days to prove you're worth the Marines' time and mine. But, Sergeant, these are Tier 1 operators. They're the best of the best. If you waste their time with basic range qualification stuff, I'll have you on a plane back to Quantico before lunch. Understood?" "Understood, Master Chief." An hour later, Emma stood on a rifle range facing 12 Navy SEALs. They were all men, all combat veterans, all looking at her with expressions ranging from skepticism to outright hostility. She recognized the look. She had seen it hundreds of times from male Marines who didn't think a woman could teach them anything about weapons. The senior SEAL in the group was a Chief Petty Officer named Mike Brennan. He was in his mid-30s, wiry and intense, with the kind of confidence that came from surviving dozens of missions in the world's worst places. "All right, Marines," Brennan said, deliberately using the wrong branch. "Master Chief says you're here to teach us something about shooting. So teach." Emma ignored the disrespect. "Chief, I'm here to teach advanced precision rifle techniques under stress. But before we start, I need to establish a baseline. I'd like each of you to take 10 shots at the target at 300 yards. Standard qualification position." "300 yards," one of the SEALs said with a laugh. Ma'am, we regularly shoot at 800 yards and beyond. 300 is close range for us. I understand, Emma said calmly, but I need to see your fundamentals before we move to advanced techniques. Please proceed. The SEALs exchanged glances that clearly said they thought this was a waste of time. But they were disciplined operators, so they complied. One by one, they took their positions and fired 10 rounds at the 300-yard target. Emma watched carefully, not looking at where the bullets hit, but at the shooter's technique. She observed their breathing, their trigger control, their body position, the way they managed recoil. She took detailed notes. When they finished, they checked their targets. The results were good. Most shooters had put 8 or 9 of their 10 rounds in the center mass area. By military standards, it was solid performance. Satisfied? Brennan asked Emma. Chief, you and your men are good shooters, Emma said. But you're not great shooters. And the difference between good and great is the difference between hitting a target and missing it when conditions are difficult. With respect, Sergeant, 9 out of 10 at 300 yards is better than good, Brennan replied. You're right, Emma agreed. But you're shooting from a stable position, in ideal weather conditions, at a stationary target, with no time pressure and no stress. Change any of those variables and your performance drops significantly. I can prove it. How? Brennan challenged. Emma picked up her own rifle, a standard M4 that she had brought from Quantico. I'm going to take 100 shots. Not 10, 100. And I'm going to hit the center mass zone on every single one. If I miss even once, I'll get back in my truck and drive back to Quantico. But if I make all 100, you and your men will listen to what I have to teach. Deal! The SEALs erupted in laughter. 100 straight hits at 300 yards? One of them said. That's impossible. It's not impossible, Emma said quietly. It's just difficult. And it requires perfect technique, which is what I'm here to teach you. Brennan looked at her with something like respect for the first time. You're serious? Completely serious, Chief. All right, Sergeant Chen, you've got yourself a deal. But when you miss, and you will miss, I want you to admit that maybe, just maybe, combat experienced SEALs don't need shooting lessons from someone who's never left a training range. Fair enough, Emma said. She took her position at the firing line. The SEALs gathered behind her, some still chuckling, others watching with curiosity. Master Chief Cooper had appeared from somewhere, arms crossed, his expression skeptical. Emma loaded her first magazine. 30 rounds. She took a breath, settled into her position, and began the mental preparation she had practiced thousands of times. She visualized the shot, calculated the wind drift, adjusted her aim point. Then she fired. The first shot was a perfect center hit. So was the second. And the third, Emma fell into a rhythm, each shot identical to the last. Her breathing was controlled, her trigger press smooth, her follow-through perfect. After the first magazine, she smoothly reloaded and continued. The laughter from the SEALs had died away, replaced by focused silence. They were watching a master at work, and they knew it. Emma's technique was flawless. Every aspect of her shooting, position, breath control, trigger management, recoil control, was executed with machine-like precision. She made each shot look effortless, natural, as if the rifle was an extension of her body. After 50 rounds, Chief Brennan walked down to check the target through spotting scope. He returned with a strange expression on his face. How many misses? One of the SEALs asked. None, Brennan said quietly. 50 shots, 50 hits. Every single one is in the center mass zone. Most are within a 6-inch group. The SEALs weren't laughing anymore. They were watching with the intense focus of professionals recognizing superior skill. Emma continued. 60 rounds, 70, 80. Her concentration never wavered. Each shot was preceded by the same ritual: breath, aim, press, follow-through. The rhythm was hypnotic. At 90 rounds, she paused to wipe sweat from her forehead. It was getting hot, and she had been maintaining perfect position for nearly 45 minutes. Her muscles were starting to ache, but she couldn't let it affect her shooting. She loaded her final magazine and prepared for the last 10 shots. These would be the hardest. Fatigue was setting in, and the pressure of finishing the challenge was building. This was where most shooters would start making mistakes. But Emma had trained for exactly this situation. She had learned to shoot through fatigue, through stress, through doubt. She took an extra moment to center herself, then continued. Shot 91, hit, 92, hit, 93, hit. The SEALs were completely silent now, counting along with her. 97, 98, 99. Emma continued. 60 rounds, 70, 80. Her concentration never wavered. Each shot was preceded by the same ritual: breath, aim, press, follow-through. The rhythm was hypnotic. At 90 rounds, she paused to wipe sweat from her forehead. It was getting hot, and she had been maintaining perfect position for nearly 45 minutes. Her muscles were starting to ache, but she couldn't let it affect her shooting. She loaded her final magazine and prepared for the last 10 shots. These would be the hardest. Fatigue was setting in, and the pressure of finishing the challenge was building. This was where most shooters would start making mistakes. But Emma had trained for exactly this situation. She had learned to shoot through fatigue, through stress, through doubt. She took an extra moment to center herself, then continued. Shot 91, hit, 92, hit, 93, hit. The SEALs were completely silent now, counting along with her. 97, 98, 99. Emma paused before her final shot. 100 shots, not a single miss. All she had to do was make one more perfect shot. She settled into position, controlled her breathing, and squeezed the trigger. The shot broke clean. Emma knew before the bullet arrived that it was a hit. She had felt it in the perfect execution of the shot, the way the trigger broke, the way the rifle recoiled, the way her sight picture remained stable. Chief Brennan was already walking toward the target with the spotting scope. The other SEALs followed. Emma stayed at the firing line, her rifle still shouldered, watching them. Brennan spent a long time looking at the target. Then he turned and walked back to Emma. His expression had changed completely. The skepticism was gone, replaced by genuine respect. 100 shots, he said. 100 hits. I counted the holes. The group is just under 18 inches for all 100 rounds, at 300 yards. That's... He paused, searching for words. That's the best shooting I've ever seen. Emma lowered her rifle. Chief, that's what perfect technique looks like. And that's what I'm here to teach your men. Not because you're bad shooters, you're not. But because I can make you better. I can teach you techniques that will improve your accuracy by 20, 30, maybe even 50%. Techniques that will help you make shots that you're currently missing. Master Chief Cooper had walked down to inspect the target himself. He returned with a different expression than the one he'd worn that morning. Sergeant Chen, he said, I owe you an apology. I judged you before giving you a chance to prove yourself. That was unprofessional. He turned to the SEALs. Gentlemen, for the next 3 days, Sergeant Chen is your primary instructor. Whatever she tells you to do, you do it. Whatever she teaches you, you learn it. This Marine has skills we need. Questions? There were no questions. The SEALs were looking at Emma with new eyes, not as a female instructor to be tolerated, but as a master craftsman with knowledge they wanted. All right, Sergeant, Brennan said. You've got our attention. Teach us what you know. Emma smiled for the first time that day. Chief, the first thing you need to understand is that everything you think you know about shooting is probably wrong, or at least incomplete. The human body isn't naturally designed to shoot accurately, and combat stress makes it worse. What I'm going to teach you is how to override your body's natural responses and shoot with precision even when everything is going wrong. She gestured to the range. We're going to start over from the beginning. Forget everything you learned in basic training. Forget muscle memory from combat. We're going to rebuild your shooting technique from the ground up, focusing on the small details that make the difference between a hit and a miss at long range. One of the younger SEALs spoke up. Sergeant, how did you learn to shoot like that? I've never seen anything like that. Emma picked up her rifle, checking to make sure it was clear. I grew up shooting with my father in Oregon. He was a hunting guide, and he taught me that shooting isn't about power or speed. It's about patience and precision. Every shot is a combination of physics, biology, and psychology. Master those 3 elements and you can hit anything. She looked at the assembled SEALs. My father used to say that anyone can learn to shoot adequately in a few weeks. But learning to shoot with real precision, The kind of precision that makes impossible shots possible, that takes years of dedicated practice. I've been practicing for 20 years. I've fired over 50,000 rounds in training. I've studied ballistics, weather patterns, human physiology. I've made it my life's work to understand shooting at a level that most people never attempt. And now, Emma continued, I'm going to compress 20 years of learning into 3 days. It won't make you perfect, but it will make you significantly better. And in your line of work, significantly better might mean the difference between mission success and failure. Between coming home and not coming home. Chief Brennan nodded slowly. All right, Sergeant. You've convinced us. Where do we start? We start with breathing, Emma said. It sounds basic, but most shooters, even experienced ones, don't truly understand respiratory cycle and its effect on accuracy. We're going to spend the next 2 hours just on breathing techniques. One of the SEALs groaned quietly. 2 hours on breathing? Emma heard it and smiled. Yes, 2 hours. Because proper breathing control is the foundation of everything else. Get this wrong and nothing else matters. Get it right, and you'll see immediate improvement in your shooting. Trust the process. Over the next 2 hours, Emma taught the SEALs techniques for controlling their breathing during shooting that went far beyond basic training. She explained the relationship between oxygen levels, heart rate, and muscle stability. She taught them how to time their shots to their natural respiratory pause, how to use breathing to manage stress, and how to maintain oxygen levels during extended shooting sessions. The SEALs, who had been skeptical at first, quickly realized that Emma knew things they didn't. Small adjustments to their breathing technique produced noticeable improvements in their stability and accuracy. By lunchtime, they were completely committed. Emma Chen had won them over not with words or credentials, but by demonstrating undeniable skill and then showing them that she could help them achieve similar results. As they broke for lunch, one of the younger SEALs approached Emma. Sergeant, that 100-shot demonstration, how long did it take you to get that good? Honestly? Emma said. About 15 years. But that's because I learned through trial and error. With proper instruction, you can develop similar skills much faster. The key is understanding the principles and then practicing them correctly. Most shooters practice bad technique for years and wonder why they don't improve. I'm going to teach you the correct technique, and then it's up to you to practice it. The SEAL nodded. Thank you for not giving up on us. I know we were dismissive this morning. It's okay, Emma said. I'm used to it. But here's what I've learned. Respect has to be earned, not demanded. I don't expect people to respect me because of my rank or because regulations say they have to. I expect to earn respect by demonstrating competence. That's the only kind of respect that matters. As Emma ate lunch alone in her truck, she reflected on the morning. She had cleared the first hurdle, proving that she deserved to be there. But the real work was just beginning. Over the next 3 days, she would need to transfer her knowledge to these operators, helping them internalize techniques that had taken her years to master. And if she succeeded, she would do more than just improve their shooting. She would prove that expertise transcended gender, that skill mattered more than stereotypes, and that sometimes the best teacher was the person nobody expected. Part 2. The techniques that changed minds. By the afternoon of the first day, Emma had the SEALs shooting from positions they had never considered. She had them firing while balanced on narrow beams, shooting from awkward angles, and maintaining accuracy while doing exercises that elevated their heart rates to combat levels. In combat, you rarely get to shoot from a perfect position, Emma explained. You're usually shooting from cover, which means odd angles and unstable positions. You're often physically exhausted from movement. Your heart is racing from adrenaline. All of these factors degrade accuracy unless you've trained specifically for them. She demonstrated by running 50 yards, doing 20 burpees to spike her heart rate, then immediately taking a prone position and firing 5 shots at a 400-yard target. All 5 rounds hit within a 6-inch group. The SEALs tried the same drill. Their accuracy was significantly worse than their baseline shooting from stable positions. Many of them missed the target entirely. This is why technique matters, Emma said. When your heart is pounding and you're gasping for breath, your natural instinct is to rush the shot. But that's exactly when you need perfect technique the most. Let me show you how to maintain accuracy under physical stress. She taught them breath control techniques that allowed them to stabilize their shooting even with an elevated heart rate. She showed them trigger control methods that worked even when their hands were shaking from exertion. She demonstrated body positions that provided maximum stability even when they were exhausted. Chief Brennan ran the drill again, this time applying Emma's techniques. His group size improved dramatically. "I'll be damned," he said. "That actually works." "Everything I teach you works," Emma replied. "But only if you practice it correctly. The mistake most shooters make is thinking that natural talent is enough. It's not. Elite shooting requires deliberate practice of specific techniques." On the second day, Emma introduced wind-reading techniques that went far beyond what the SEALs had learned in their basic sniper training. She taught them to read wind at multiple points between their position and the target, to calculate the cumulative effect of varying wind speeds, and to adjust their aim points accordingly. She set up a challenging shot, 600 yards, with variable wind blowing at different speeds and directions along the bullet's path. It was the kind of shot that even experienced snipers would hesitate to take. Emma took the shot first, explaining her calculations as she made them. "Wind at our position is 5 miles per hour from the left. At 200 yards, it increases to 8 miles per hour. At 400 yards, it shifts to 6 miles per hour from a slightly different angle. At the target, it's back down to 4 miles per hour, but from the right." She made rapid calculations, adjusted her aim point, and fired. The bullet hit dead center. "Now here's the interesting part," Emma said. "Most shooters would try to calculate an average wind value and use that. But with this much variation, that approach doesn't work. You have to account for the wind in segments and calculate the cumulative deflection. Let me show you the math." She spent the next hour teaching them a wind-reading method developed by competitive long-range shooters that was far more sophisticated than military doctrine. The SEALs were fascinated. This was advanced material that could make a real difference in their operational effectiveness. One of the SEALs, a lieutenant named Marcus Hayes, who had been a designated marksman on multiple deployments, was particularly engaged. "Sergeant, I've made hundreds of shots in combat, but I never understood wind reading at this level. This is game-changing." "It is," Emma agreed. "But, Lieutenant, you also need to understand the limitations. These calculations work when you have time to make them. In a time-critical situation, you have to rely on trained instinct. That's why we're going to spend the rest of the day doing rapid wind-reading drills. By the end of today, I want you to be able to estimate wind deflection in under 3 seconds. They practiced for hours. Emma would call out wind conditions, and the SEALs would have to calculate deflection and make immediate shots. At first, they were slow and inaccurate. But gradually, with Emma's coaching, they began to internalize the process. By evening, Hayes was making shots that he would have considered impossible that morning. "This is incredible," he said. "I feel like I've just unlocked a new level of capability." "You have," Emma said. "But remember, this is just the beginning. To truly master these techniques, you need hundreds of hours of practice. What I'm giving you is the framework. The rest is up to you." That evening, Master Chief Cooper approached Emma as she was cleaning her rifle. "Sergeant Chen, I need to tell you something. I've been watching your instruction for 2 days now. I've been in the SEAL teams for 22 years, and I've seen a lot of instructors. You're one of the best I've ever encountered." "Thank you, Master Chief," Emma said. "That means a lot coming from you." "I'm not just saying it to be nice," Cooper continued. "You have a gift for breaking down complex skills into teachable components. More importantly, you have the credibility that comes from genuine mastery. The men respect you now, and that respect was earned through demonstration, not demanded through rank." He paused. "I was wrong about you. I judged you based on gender rather than ability. I won't make that mistake again." Emma was quiet for a moment. "Master Chief, can I ask you something? Why was there so much resistance to me being here? Was it really just about gender?" Cooper sat down on a bench, gesturing for Emma to join him. "It's complicated. Part of it is traditional military culture, the idea that women can't perform at the same level as men in combat roles. Part of it is personal experience. A lot of us have seen female service members who were pushed through training or given positions they weren't qualified for because of political pressure. But the bigger issue," he continued, "is that we SEALs are protective of our standards. We've built a reputation as the best special operations force in the world, and we're terrified of anything that might lower those standards. When we heard a female instructor was coming, many of us assumed it was political, that you were being forced on us regardless of your qualifications." "I understand that," Emma said. "But you realize that attitude makes it almost impossible for qualified women to prove themselves, right? If you assume every woman is there for political reasons, you never give them a fair chance to demonstrate competence." "You're right," Cooper admitted. "And you've proven that. But Emma, here's the reality. You're going to face this attitude your entire career. There will always be men who doubt you, who assume you're not qualified, who think you're taking a spot that should go to a man. The question is, how do you deal with that?" Emma was quiet for a long moment. "The same way I dealt with it here. I demonstrate competence so undeniable that it can't be dismissed. I earn respect through performance. And I refuse to let their prejudice define my self-worth or limit my potential." "That's a lonely road," Cooper said. "It is," Emma agreed, "but it's the only road available. I can't change their minds through argument or appeals to fairness. I can only change their minds by being so good at what I do that they can't ignore it." On the third day, Emma introduced stress inoculation drills. She had the SEALs shooting while being physically harassed. Teammates would jostle them, shout at them, create distractions and pressure. She had them shoot immediately after sprinting, after doing intense exercise, after simulated combat stress. "Combat shooting isn't about what you can do when you're calm and fresh," Emma explained. "It's about what you can do when everything is going wrong. These drills teach your body to maintain technique even under extreme stress." She demonstrated by having 2 SEALs physically shake her shooting platform while she was taking a shot at 800 yards. Despite the instability, she still hit the target. "The key is neural pathways," Emma explained. "If you practice perfect technique enough times, it becomes automatic. Your body executes the technique even when your conscious mind is overwhelmed by stress. That's what we're building. Automatic precision that survives combat conditions." The SEALs ran the drills repeatedly. It was the hardest day of training they had experienced in years. Emma pushed them past their comfort zones, forced them to attempt shots they thought were impossible, and refused to accept anything less than their best effort. But something remarkable was happening. By the end of the day, these elite operators were shooting significantly better than they had 3 days earlier. Not just marginally better, dramatically better. Shots they would have missed on day 1 were hitting consistently. Techniques they had thought were impossible were becoming routine. Chief Brennan approached Emma as the training day ended. "Sergeant, we need to talk about something. My team has a mission coming up in 3 weeks. It's going to involve precision shooting in challenging conditions. I want you there." Emma was surprised. "Chief, I'm a marksmanship instructor. I'm not a SEAL. I can't go on your missions." "I know you're not a SEAL," Brennan said. "But there's a thing called a mission essential civilian. In special cases, we can bring subject matter experts on missions if their presence is critical to mission success. I want to request that you be designated as mission essential for our upcoming operation. Chief, I appreciate the offer, but I've never been in combat. I don't have the training or experience for special operations missions." "You're right," Brennan acknowledged. "But you have a skill set we need. This mission requires extremely precise long-range shooting in variable conditions. After watching you work this week, I'm convinced you could make shots that none of us could. And that could mean the difference between mission success and failure." Emma was torn. Part of her wanted to decline. She knew her limitations, knew she wasn't trained for combat operations. But another part of her was curious, excited even, at the possibility of applying her skills in a real-world situation. "Chief, I need to think about this, and I'd need approval from my chain of command." "Understood," Brennan said. "Talk to Master Chief Cooper. He supports the idea, and think seriously about it, Emma. You've proven you have skills we need. This is your chance to use them where they really matter." That evening, Emma met with Master Chief Cooper to discuss the request. Cooper was straightforward in his assessment. "Sergeant Chen, Chief Brennan's request is unusual but not unprecedented. We've brought civilian experts on missions before when their expertise was critical. In this case, the mission requires precision shooting at ranges and under conditions where your skills could make a real difference. Master Chief, I'm not trained for combat operations, Emma said. I'd be a liability. You'd be operating from a secure position, providing overwatch and precision fire support, Cooper explained. You wouldn't be kicking in doors or conducting close-quarters combat, but you would be in a combat zone, subject to enemy fire. It's dangerous, and you have every right to decline. Cooper leaned forward. But Emma, I'm going to be honest with you. In my 22 years as a SEAL, I've met maybe 5 shooters with your level of precision. You have a gift, and gifts like that can save American lives. This mission matters, and your presence could be the difference between success and failure. Emma thought about everything she had worked for. Years of training, thousands of hours of practice, a lifetime dedicated to mastering her craft. And now she had a chance to use those skills for something that truly mattered. If my chain of command approves, Emma said slowly, I'll do it. Part 3. The mission that proved everything. 3 weeks later, Emma found herself in Afghanistan, sitting in a briefing room with Chief Brennan's SEAL team. The past weeks had been a whirlwind, getting approval from Marine Corps leadership, completing abbreviated combat training, deploying to the forward operating base, and preparing for a mission unlike anything she had ever imagined. The target was a high-value Taliban commander who had been responsible for numerous attacks on American forces. Intelligence indicated he would be meeting with other commanders in a compound in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan. The SEALs would insert at night, set up an observation post, and if the opportunity presented itself, eliminate the target. The challenge was the distance. The only position that provided line of sight to the compound while maintaining cover was a ridgeline 1,400 yards away. In military terms, that was an extremely long-range shot, beyond the capability of most shooters even under ideal conditions. The problem is, the conditions aren't ideal, Brennan explained during the briefing. The target area is in a valley with variable wind patterns. We'll be shooting in the late afternoon when thermals create unpredictable air currents. And we'll have maybe 60 seconds from when the target is identified until he's no longer exposed. He looked at Emma. Sergeant Chen, this is why you're here. We need someone who can make that shot under those conditions. Can you do it? Emma studied the map, visualizing the shot. 1,400 yards, variable wind, time pressure, and the knowledge that missing could mean the target escapes and continues killing Americans. I can make the shot, she said quietly. But I'll need to get eyes on the location beforehand to read the wind patterns and verify the range calculations. You'll have time for that, Brennan said. We insert tonight and establish the observation post by dawn. You'll have all day to prepare while we wait for the target to arrive. That night, Emma boarded a helicopter with the SEAL team. As they flew toward the insertion point, she felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was real. No more training ranges, no more simulations. If she failed here, people might die. They inserted without incident and moved through the darkness to the ridgeline. By dawn, they had established a well-concealed observation post with excellent visibility of the target compound. Emma spent the day studying the conditions. She used a weather meter to measure wind speed and direction at multiple times throughout the day, noting how the patterns changed as the sun heated the valley. She ranged the target compound multiple times, verifying the exact distance. She calculated the ballistic trajectory for her rifle and ammunition at that altitude and temperature. By afternoon, she had a complete picture of the shot. It was going to be extremely difficult. The wind in the valley was variable and unpredictable, shifting direction multiple times per hour. But she had confidence in her ability to read the conditions and make the necessary adjustments. At 4:30 p.m., the radio crackled. All elements, this is TOC. Target vehicle spotted approaching the compound. ETA 5 minutes. The SEALs tensed, moving into position. Emma settled behind her rifle, a .300 Winchester Magnum bolt action that had been specially selected for this mission. She chambered around and began her final preparations. Remember, Brennan whispered beside her, you'll have 1 shot. Maybe 2 if you're very fast. After that, he'll be inside and we'll lose him. Understood, Emma said. Through her scope, she watched the compound. A vehicle arrived and several men got out. The SEAL team's intelligence specialist compared their faces to photos. "Target identified," he said. "The one in the white shirt. He's moving toward the building." Emma found the target in her scope. He was walking casually, not aware that he was being watched from nearly a mile away. She had maybe 30 seconds before he reached the building entrance. Emma did what she had done 50,000 times before. She read the wind, noting the dust patterns in the valley, the movement of vegetation, the mirage effect through her scope. She calculated the deflection and elevation adjustments. She controlled her breathing, finding the natural respiratory pause, and then she broke the shot. The bullet left the rifle with a crack that echoed off the mountains. For nearly 2 seconds, Emma tracked the bullet's path through her scope, watching as it covered the 1,400 yards between her and the target. The bullet struck the target in the upper chest, exactly where she had aimed. "He dropped immediately. Hit," the intelligence specialist confirmed. "Target down," but Emma barely heard him. She had already chambered a second round, finding another high-value individual in her scope. This one was running toward a vehicle trying to escape. Emma calculated the lead for the moving target, adjusted for the range, and fired. The second shot was even more impressive than the first. She hit the running target at 1,400 yards, a shot that should have been nearly impossible. "Second target down," the specialist said, his voice awed. "Holy shit, she hit a moving target at this range. Time to move," Brennan said. "The compound will be swarming with fighters in minutes. Let's get to the extraction point." The team moved quickly through the mountains, covering the 3 miles to the extraction zone in just over an hour. Throughout the movement, Emma kept pace with the SEALs, despite being the smallest and least combat-experienced person in the group. They reached the extraction zone without incident and boarded the helicopter that would take them back to base. As they flew away from the mountains, Chief Brennan squeezed Emma's shoulder. 2 shots, 2 kills, at 1,400 yards, under difficult conditions, with lives on the line, he said. "That's the best shooting I've ever witnessed in combat. You saved this mission, Sergeant Chen." Emma didn't respond. She was still processing what had just happened, the reality that she had just killed 2 people. Intellectually, she understood that they were enemy combatants who had killed Americans. But emotionally, taking a human life, even at that distance, was more complicated than she had expected. Back at base, the SEAL team debriefed with their commander, a captain named Anderson. He reviewed the mission footage and the detailed reports. "Sergeant Chen," Anderson said, "I've been in special operations for 15 years. I've worked with some of the best shooters in the military. What you did today was extraordinary. 2 precision shots at extreme range under difficult conditions. Both kills confirmed, mission success." He paused. "I'm writing a letter to your commanding officer recommending you for a medal. But more importantly, I'm going to advocate for creating a formal program where civilian expert shooters like yourself can be integrated into special operations missions when their skills are needed. You've proven the concept works." Over the next few days, word of Emma's shooting spread through the special operations community. Other SEAL teams wanted her to teach them. Special Forces units requested training. Even CIA paramilitary officers asked if she could provide instruction. Master Chief Cooper called her into his office a week after the mission. "Sergeant Chen, you've created a problem for me." "Sir?" Emma was confused. "Every special operations unit in Afghanistan wants you to train their shooters. I've got more requests than I can handle, which means I need you to stay here for the next 6 months as our primary advanced marksmanship instructor for Special Operations Forces." Cooper smiled. "Congratulations, Sergeant. You've gone from the instructor nobody wanted to the instructor everybody needs. How do you feel about that?" Emma thought for a moment. "Honestly, Master Chief, I feel like I finally proved what I've known all along. That skill transcends gender. That if you're good enough at what you do, people will eventually recognize it regardless of their prejudices." "You're right," Cooper said, "but you also proved something else. You proved that excellence requires humility. You could have been arrogant about your abilities, could have rubbed our noses in the fact that you were better than us, but you didn't. You approached teaching with respect for what we knew while showing us what we didn't know. That combination of skill and humility is rare, and it's why you've been so effective." Emma spent the next 6 months in Afghanistan, training hundreds of special operations personnel in advanced marksmanship. She taught SEALs, Special Forces, Rangers, and even CIA officers. Every one of them came in skeptical and left as believers, but she also continued to refine her own skills. She worked with the special operations community to develop new techniques specifically designed for combat shooting at extreme ranges. She learned from their combat experience and integrated it into her training program. When she finally returned to the United States in 2016, she was promoted to gunnery sergeant and assigned to develop a new advanced marksmanship program for the Marine Corps that incorporated everything she had learned. Over the next several years, Emma revolutionized how the military trained precision shooters. Her techniques were adopted across all services. Her training materials became standard curriculum, and her story became legendary. The female instructor who nailed 100 straight shots and then proved her skills on the battlefield. In 2019, Emma was selected to attend Officer Candidate School. She was commissioned as a second lieutenant and assigned to lead a new training program focused on integrating women into combat roles with specialized skills. At her commissioning ceremony, Chief Brennan attended. He had retired from the SEALs but stayed in touch with Emma over the years. "You know what the most important thing you did was?" Brennan asked her. "It wasn't the 100 straight shots, though that was impressive. It wasn't the combat kills, though those saved the mission. The most important thing you did was prove that expertise matters more than assumptions." "What do you mean?" Emma asked. "When you showed up at Coronado, we assumed you couldn't teach us anything because you were female and hadn't deployed," Brennan explained. "We were wrong. You had expertise we needed, and you were generous enough to share it despite our initial hostility. That taught me, that I needed to evaluate people based on demonstrated ability, not on preconceptions." He smiled. "I've carried that lesson with me. I'm now training SEAL candidates, and I tell them your story. Not as a story about gender, but as a story about the importance of recognizing expertise wherever you find it. Some of the best instructors I have are people I would have dismissed years ago based on superficial characteristics. You taught me to look deeper." Emma continued her military career, eventually reaching the rank of major. She deployed twice more to combat zones, both times providing training and operational support for precision shooting missions. She received multiple awards for her contributions, including a Bronze Star for her actions on that first combat mission. But what she was most proud of were the letters. She received hundreds of letters from shooters she had trained, SEALs, Marines, soldiers, airmen, all of them telling her how her techniques had helped them in combat, how her training had made them better operators, how her example had inspired them to pursue excellence. In 2023, Emma retired from the Marine Corps and wrote a book titled Precision Under Pressure: The Art and Science of Combat Marksmanship. It became required reading at military academies and training schools across the country. At the book's launch event, a young female Marine officer approached Emma. "Ma'am, I'm about to become a marksmanship instructor, but I'm worried that male students won't take me seriously. Do you have any advice?" Emma smiled, remembering her own doubts standing on that range at Coronado 8 years earlier. "Here's what I learned. Respect cannot be demanded, only earned. Don't expect people to respect you because of your rank or gender. Expect to earn their respect through demonstrated competence." "But what if they don't give you a chance to demonstrate competence?" the young officer asked. "Then you take the chance yourself," Emma said. "You find a way to show them what you can do. For me, it was offering to make 100 straight shots. For you, it might be something different. But the principle is the same. Be so undeniably good at what you do that skeptics become believers." She paused. "And remember this, the goal isn't to prove that women can be as good as men. The goal is to prove that excellence is excellence, regardless of who achieves it. Focus on being the best instructor you can be, and the rest will take care of itself." Today, Emma's 100-shot demonstration is taught as a case study at military leadership schools, not primarily as an example of shooting skill, but as an example of how to overcome bias through undeniable performance. The lesson is simple. When faced with skepticism, the most powerful response isn't argument or appeals to fairness. It's excellence that cannot be dismissed. The SEALs laughed at her rifle request. Then she nailed 100 straight shots and changed not just their minds, but the entire military's approach to marksmanship training and the integration of women into specialized combat roles. Because sometimes the most powerful statement you can make isn't what you say, it's what you do.